Relax. Everything you have been reaching for is already on its way to you. Somewhere beneath all the noise of daily life, beneath the worry and the rushing and the endless mental chatter, there is a stillness. If you stop for just a moment and breathe, you will feel it. A quiet pulse. A gentle inner knowing that whispers something your busy mind keeps drowning out. It tells you that you are not chasing something far away. It tells you that you are simply waking up to something that was always yours. Everything you desire is not sitting out there in the distance waiting to be earned through struggle. It is already encoded within you. It is already alive in the creative space of your inner world, quietly taking shape in ways you haven't yet been able to see. The mistake most people make is believing that they have to fight for what they want, that they must sacrifice endlessly, strive relentlessly, and prove themselves worthy before anything good can arrive. But that belief misses something essential. The real power is not in the effort. It is in the assumption. It is in the calm, settled certainty that what you are looking for is already looking for you. To relax is not to give up. To relax is to surrender into the truth. You are not someone begging the universe to notice you. You are someone finally recognizing that it already has. There is nothing left to prove, nothing broken that needs fixing. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. The instant you stop reaching outward and begin dwelling inward, you step into the sacred space where everything you want actually begins. Imagine for a moment that what you desire most, whether it is love, financial freedom, better health, or genuine peace, is already yours. Don't analyze how that could be. Don't immediately ask what steps you need to take. Simply feel what that would be like. Let the warmth of it settle into your body. Let the calm of already having it move through you. What would your morning feel like if you woke up knowing that everything was already working out? What would the rest of your day look like if you carried that sense of certainty wherever you went? That is not fantasy. That is creative power. That is alignment. And from that place of inner alignment, the things you once had to chase begin arriving on their own. You have been taught your whole life to worry, to push harder, to fear falling behind. But the laws that govern your experience don't respond to panic. They respond to imagination. When you imagine from the state of already having what you want, you are not pretending. You are creating. You are stepping into the inner posture that draws your desired reality toward you. And when you make that state your permanent dwelling place rather than just a passing mood, life begins to rearrange itself to match what you carry within. You may look around right now and see things that contradict this. You may feel the weight of delay or notice the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But do not trust those appearances. They are echoes of past beliefs. They are reflections of what was, not declarations of what must be. They hold no power over you unless you keep granting them power by accepting them as the final word. The real shift happens the moment you choose to look past the evidence of your senses and relax into the invisible truth. Your wish has already been answered in the unseen. Your only job now is to rest in that fulfillment, to live as though the invisible is already real, to move through your days in faith rather than frustration. There is no virtue in anxiety. There is no reward hiding on the other side of suffering. The world has taught you to hustle and beg and earn what already belongs to you by nature. But when you return to your true self, when you stop resisting the natural flow of things and simply allow your inner vision to lead, the gates open. The things that once seemed impossible begin appearing with ease, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did. The moment you genuinely relax, something in you rises. You rise above doubt. You rise above fear. You step into a dimension where your thoughts become form and your beliefs become real. In that space, you don't chase blessings. You become the living expression of them. You don't force outcomes. You feel your way into them. And the longer you stay in that inner knowing, the more effortless your life becomes. So breathe, rest your mind, loosen the grip you've had on trying to control how things unfold. Stop fighting the current. Everything you want is not somewhere ahead of you. It is inside you right now. You were never meant to strive forever. You were meant to imagine boldly, believe fully, and receive freely. And when you allow yourself to truly relax into that truth, you will realize something astonishing. You are about to have everything, not because you earned it through exhaustion, but because you aligned with it, because you became still enough to let it find you. The outer world, as solid and real as it may appear, is nothing more than a shadow cast by the light of your inner awareness. Everything you believe, everything you accept as true within the quiet theater of your mind, gets projected outward as the life you actually experience. Your inner world is not a place of idle fantasy. It is the engine behind everything that shows up in your external reality. Most people live this completely backwards. They wait for things to appear on the outside before they allow themselves to feel joy, security, or confidence. They condition their inner state on what they can already see, which means they are always one step behind. They become slaves to their circumstances without ever realizing that those circumstances are simply the residue of their own persistent inner state. Living that way is like standing before a mirror and trying to change the reflection by rearranging the glass. It cannot work. The reflection only changes when the face in front of it changes. Your outer life is always and only a mirror of your inner world. If you are experiencing lack in any area of your life, whether it is financial scarcity, loneliness, rejection, or repeated disappointment, it is not because the world is cruel or because you are unlucky. It is because your mind has unknowingly sustained an inner atmosphere of lack. You have rehearsed the feeling of being overlooked, of being unworthy, of being just out of reach of what you want. And so the mirror had no choice but to reflect that back to you. But here is where everything can shift. The moment you genuinely accept that the inner world is the only true cause of your outer experience, you reclaim the power to change everything. You no longer need to battle what is out there. You only need to tend to what is in here. You can begin right now, in this moment, by choosing to imagine differently, by seeing yourself as already fulfilled, already celebrated, already living what you desire. Not because the world has confirmed it yet, but because you have decided to feel it. You are not waiting for the world to catch up to you. The world is waiting for you to assume a new identity, to accept the truth of who you are, to stop looking through the eyes of fear and start seeing through the eyes of imagination. You don't need to figure out the strategy or map out every step toward what you want. You simply need to live inwardly as the version of yourself whose wish is already fulfilled. Feel it, occupy it, breathe it. That state becomes your new home. You don't visit it like a guest hoping to be let in. You walk into it like the rightful owner returning to a place that was always yours. You don't knock and wait. You enter knowing, right now, with every dominant emotion and every recurring thought, you are creating your future. Once you fully accept that, the outer world becomes far less intimidating. You stop reacting to every challenge as though it defines you. You stop panicking over delays. You stop fearing the unknown because you understand that what truly matters is not outside your influence. It is within your consciousness. If you want to change your life, you begin by changing your mind. Not through force or exhausting effort, but through the gentle and confident act of imagining differently. The people who seem to effortlessly have everything are not always those who work the hardest or chase the most aggressively. Often they are simply people who assume deeply and consistently that they were already the person they desired to be. They walk as though it is already done. They speak from a place of fulfillment rather than hope, and because they dwell in that state inwardly, life reflects it outwardly, sometimes in ways that appear almost miraculous. So if you desire abundance, you must first become abundant in thought. If you long for love, you must first feel genuinely lovable within yourself. If you crave freedom, you must first experience it on the inside. Every external shift begins as a movement in consciousness. The new opportunity, the right relationship, the healed body, the creative breakthrough, none of these arrive because you suffered enough to earn them. They arrive because you inwardly became their match. Relaxation is not laziness. It is not indifference. It is the sacred art of surrendering into the deeper truth that your desire is already fulfilled. In a world that glorifies hustle and demands visible proof before granting belief, relaxation feels like rebellion. But it is exactly the kind of rebellion that reconnects you to your original power. The power to assume, to imagine, and to manifest without force. The moment you truly relax, you stop wrestling with appearances. You step into alignment with a higher law, the law of consciousness, which creates all that is visible from what is unseen. To relax is to trust. Not a blind trust in circumstances you cannot control, but a deep trust in the invisible reality you carry within you. When you let go of forcing things, you give your imagination the space it needs to create. You cannot be genuinely anxious and genuinely creative at the same time. One closes you down, the other opens you up. Worry contracts the soul, relaxation opens the door. When you are truly relaxed, you are not abandoning your desire. You are embodying it. You are saying with every breath that you believe it is already done. And from that inner knowing, life begins to arrange itself not through pressure, but through harmony. Think about what happens when you order something and receive the confirmation. You don't spend every minute staring out the window wondering if it will arrive. You go on with your life in calm expectation because you trust the system. That is exactly the posture needed here. You place the order with your imagination. You receive the confirmation through your feeling. Now go on with your life trusting that delivery is already in motion. Panic delays things, doubt clouds the channel. But the person who rests in the feeling of it being already done creates the clearest possible pathway for what they want to arrive. Relaxation is not detachment from your desires. It is detachment from the fear that they won't come. It is releasing your consciousness from the weight of needing to control every detail. When you relax, you stop standing in your own way. You stop insisting that you need to fix this, force this, or chase this. Instead, you settle into the quiet certainty that you are already one with what you want. And in that unity, in that stillness, you become magnetic to the reality that matches what you carry inside. If your dream were already fully real right now, if everything you wanted was already present in your life, how would you actually feel? You would not be tense. You would not be rushing or grasping or analyzing. You would be calm. You would move through your days with ease and grace. That feeling is not something you wait for. It is something you create now. And when you live from that feeling, you pull the future toward you through resonance rather than through effort. People often ask what they should do while they wait for what they want. The answer is simple. Stop waiting. Start living as though it has already happened. Walk like the version of you who already has it. Think like them. Rest like them. Speak like them. Don't perform the role from the outside. Become it from the inside. The relaxed version of you is the fulfilled version of you. The one who is no longer striving but enjoying. No longer chasing but naturally attracting. Your imagination is not a distraction from reality. It is the foundation of it. What you imagine with genuine feeling and sustained faith begins to take form in the unseen, long before it becomes visible to your eyes. Every structure ever built, every invention ever created, every movement that changed the world, all of it first existed in the mind of someone who dared to see what had not yet appeared. The invisible always comes before the visible, and the bridge between what you desire and what you experience is the act of imagining it as already yours. Most people use imagination incorrectly. They visit the state of their desire briefly, like a traveler passing through a place they're not sure they belong. They allow themselves to feel it for a moment and then immediately return to what they call the real world, declaring their present circumstances more true than the vision they touched. But your imagination must be treated as more real than the facts that seem to contradict it. The outer world is always only catching up to the inner vision. If you can hold the image long enough, if you can sustain the feeling without constantly abandoning it, reality must eventually conform. It has no choice but to match what you refuse to let go of. Imagination is not wishing. It is not begging. It is becoming. When you imagine from the end, from the place where your desire is already complete, you are not watching something unfold from a distance. You are stepping fully into the identity of the person who already has it. You don't just dream about wealth. You carry yourself as one who is wealthy. You don't just hope for love. You dwell in the feeling of being deeply loved right now. You don't wish for healing. You accept it inwardly as already complete. That shift in imagination is a shift in destiny itself. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. It responds to feeling, not to fact. So when you engage your imagination with clarity and genuine emotion, you are impressing a new version of reality directly onto the part of you that creates your experience. And once that impression is made, the subconscious must begin to produce it in your outer world. Through events, opportunities, people, and circumstances your logical mind could never have predicted or arranged. The difference between imagining about something and imagining from it is everything. When you imagine about what you want, you are still standing outside of it, looking in from a place of separation. But when you imagine from the state of already having it, you are inside the experience, living from the end. You are no longer asking when it will arrive. You are living in the complete conviction that it is already here. This is not a mental trick. It is the birthplace of real transformation. You stop hoping and start knowing. You stop waiting and start being. Every time you replay scenes of failure, rejection, or delay in your mind, you are rehearsing a future you claim not to want. The subconscious accepts it without judgment. It simply takes your most dominant feelings and builds from them. You cannot genuinely want abundance while consistently imagining scarcity. You cannot desire love while constantly revisiting the feeling of betrayal. You cannot ask for healing while inhabiting the identity of someone who is broken. You must see differently to live differently. This is what real faith means. It is not wishful thinking. It is spiritual sight. It is choosing to look through the eyes of your deeper self and believe in a reality that exists beyond what your physical senses can currently detect. The outer world, no matter how solid and insistent it appears, is not the master of your life. It is the servant. It is the shadow. And a shadow has no power of its own. Yet so many people spend their lives bowing to circumstances, adjusting their beliefs to match what they can measure, and wondering why nothing seems to change. This is the root of delay, not the absence of opportunity, but the presence of doubt, born from trusting the wrong source. Your senses show you the harvest of your past beliefs, not the present moment of your creative power. To look past what your senses report is not denial. It is wisdom. It is the decision to believe in what your soul knows rather than what your eyes see. Silence is sacred. It is the space in which the new reality is actually being born. And in that silence, the test arrives. Will you believe what you feel on the inside, even when nothing outside confirms it yet? Will you stay loyal to the image you planted, even when the world appears to show you the opposite? That loyalty is faith, real faith. Not the passive kind that hopes for the best, but the active inner conviction that says your feeling is enough, that what you know inside is already the truth. When the senses scream lack, you quietly affirm abundance. When the world reflects rejection, you embody acceptance. When delay appears, you relax deeper into trust rather than tightening into fear. You don't wrestle with appearances. You outgrow them. You look at contradictory evidence and recognize it for what it is, old news, a reflection of the past that is already dissolving, already being replaced by the new state you have claimed. You are both the actor and the writer of your experience. You must hold the role of the fulfilled self with unwavering consistency, regardless of what the set looks like, regardless of who applauds or who doubts. The role you assume becomes the world you live in. Living from the end means feeling it, believing it, and thinking from it, rather than merely thinking about it. You are not watching your future unfold from a distance. You are already inside it. There is a quiet power that moves beneath the surface of all things, a power that does not shout or strive or seek validation from the outside. It is the power of deep inner assumption, not the shallow variety spoken of casually, but the soul-level certainty that what you desire is already true. This kind of assumption is not based on logic or on visible probability. It is born from a decision, a quiet internal shift where you choose to become the person who already has what they once only hoped for. When this assumption is held faithfully, without constant interruption from doubt, it begins to work in ways that feel miraculous. The outer world cannot resist the pull of a consciousness that has already arrived at its destination. To assume faithfully means to live from the end without compromise. It means waking up each morning not as someone who wishes to be wealthy or loved or free, but as one who already is. You don't perform the role. You become it. You don't hope your dream will come. You know it has come, even if the physical evidence hasn't caught up yet. Many people attempt this for a moment, a day, perhaps a week, and then when nothing visibly shifts, they abandon the state. They return to old thoughts, old fears, old identities. What they don't understand is that manifestation is not delayed by the universe. It is interrupted by disbelief. When you hold your assumption only in short bursts, you plant the seed and then dig it up each day to check whether it has grown. No seed survives that treatment. Growth requires stillness, warmth, and consistency, and so does creation. Your assumption must become your dwelling place, not your weekend visit. It must be the mental home you inhabit, not the hotel you stop at when you're feeling hopeful. To assume faithfully is to walk through your current life as though your desire has already unfolded, not with arrogance, but with inner peace, not with a need to convince others, but with a quiet, settled knowing that radiates from the inside out. You do not chase signs. You embody the sign. The universe responds to the tone you carry within. If your inner speech is aligned, the world becomes an echo of it. If your inner state is unwavering, the outer must eventually bow. The belief that moves things is not the kind that flickers with emotion depending on the day. It is the kind that stands in silence, unshaken by delay, unmoved by contradiction. That belief is born from repetition. From returning to the state of the wish, fulfilled over and over, until it feels more familiar than your current circumstances. Until it is no longer something you reach for, but something you naturally return to. When you assume something faithfully, you give it life. You breathe into it with your imagination. You protect it with your focus. And eventually it begins to breathe on its own, drawing people, events, and opportunities toward you through magnetism rather than force. The calmest people often produce the most remarkable changes in their lives, not because they work the hardest, but because they believe the deepest. Because they understand that reality bends not to noise and force, but to clarity and settled inner conviction. The clearest signal you can send is the one that says quietly and completely, "This is already mine." Not with tension, not with urgency, but with rest, with calm, with peace. The person who can assume faithfully without needing constant proof has found the real key to creation. They no longer react to the world. They instruct it. Each time you return to your assumption, morning, afternoon, and night, not as a task you must complete, but as a joy, as a meditation, as a homecoming, life begins to respond. Not because you have done everything perfectly, but because you remained loyal to the state. You didn't waver. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You became. And that, more than anything else, is what brings the invisible into the visible. The universe reflects the inner world you consistently hold. Every thought, emotion, and belief acts like a seed, shaping your reality through faith or fear. Gratitude, visualization, trust, and aligned action open the path for abundance, love, and growth. Release doubt and the need to control outcomes. Become the version of yourself that already believes it is possible. In stillness, faith, and inner alignment, life begins to transform from within.